Hello, YouTube. We are ready for another Rave Mandala reading. This time we're doing Human Design Rave Mandala Gate 17, Line 6, the Bodhisattva. That's the name of it. It's not a literal thing. We're going to be looking at the metaphor of this, but most importantly, the two different audiences that are going to be viewing this video. Number one, the folks who in their human design chart have gate 17 line 6 activated and they want to have better understanding of what that is. This video goes into depth on the increment and decrement and the continuum to make sure that you're in a positive alignment with this line. Then likewise, the other way we're using this video is because we use it in a energy report called the CIRF report, the Collective Influence Report and Forecast, on a weekly basis. And we know that this is in alignment with the eclipse. So the report that's going to come out that matches this reading is report number 445. That'll be put out here in a couple of days. So if you're interested in those readings, go ahead and subscribe and you'll get a weekly energy report. Well, welcome. And what is this gate 17 line 6? It's called the Bodhisattva. Technically, this means the enlightened being. And in the Rave Mandala, it doesn't, if you have this in your human design chart, it doesn't automatically mean that you're on the Bodhisattva or you're automatically in an enlightenment sort of program. And it's not even really about being on the enlightened program. It's a metaphor. And in this metaphor, it's important to know that the Bodhisattva, and again, I'm not a historian with Buddhism. I just dabbling in the knowledge there. But what I found was that theoretically, the Bodhisattva is a place where this person is enlightened, meaning that they have achieved gotten out of samsara, out of the illusion, and are self-aware and don't really need to be here anymore. But yet they decide they're going to delay their enlightenment and come down and help us little peons and give knowledge and give insight and help us along the path. So the metaphor in this line is really important in that regard. It's not that you only can do this line if you're enlightened. It means that you're going to, in the areas that you are experienced in, you're going to have seen patterns over your lifetime. And in those patterns, you're going to have learned what works, what doesn't work. Well, just like the Bodhisattva comes back down to help, this is the role of the line 6. So that's kind of the overview. The gate itself, probably should back up a little bit. The goal of the gate is more of opinions. It's opinions, it's fact formation, organizing life's patterns. It's also called the following because this gate helps you determine which patterns to follow. And it's just learned over time. If I do this, then this probably will happen based on all the times I've experienced it. And it's also called opinions because in each of these lines, you're learning how to give stronger opinions and, more valuable opinions. And line 6 is the epitome. So here's kind of the gate in the line format. I've got the picture of the Bodhisattva, but you see all these lines. The reason why we've chosen the 6, line 6, is because this is where the next eclipse happens. So if you're watching this video on the 24th of March, 2025, in 2 days, we'll be talking about the upcoming eclipse within 1 week. And it's in this line 6 of gate 17, following the ancient law that those who wish to rule must know how to serve. It's basically the other thing to think about this gate and line is following and leading. This is one of the major tasks and themes of this line. It says perfected following. one with and the same as perfected leading. It could also be adequate to say that the summary of this title, or the title summary, would be the only perfect leader was the one who became the perfect follower. And it is important to note in here the patterns. That's the important one. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the reading, and then we'll go ahead and explain it. So, the great nurturer. The nature of this position is always positive. The possibility in understanding the nature of interdependency to express opinions of value to others. You can kind of see it right there. The nature of interdependency, that's the value of moon. Moon is ruling the increment. And the Jupiter rules the decrement, the tendency on the perfected path. It is a straight line that ends rather than a circle. Circle is, in all these traditions, is the actual truth. But when you get too much Jupiter, and we'll talk about these extremes, but it becomes that the straight line is, there's an ending. I need to get to a certain point to get enlightened. It's an on-off switch. It's the assumption is wrong, because it says here that it's really always a circle. As soon as you feel like you've achieved something, you're just starting anew in a new circle. Where understanding is achieved, the possibility of having the opinion that there is nothing else to learn. So that's the extreme of the decrement Jupiter. Let's go into more detail. And remember, I'm putting this picture up of the Bodhisattva, but remember, Bodhisattva is merely a metaphor, an adequate metaphor, though. If you think about it, it's the highest, what do we call it? The highest expression of this gate. So all these things you've learned and done, and now this is the matured version of it. So the ends of the continuum, we have, excuse me, on the increment, we have the moon. So this demonstrates what is the main archetype of the moon: nurturing, caring. They even talked about it up here, the great nurturer. Well, in a way, it's also caring. So it's to care enough to exit your Bodhisattva Zen state and get involved in the material world, and get involved in the problems of other people. And when you care enough to say something, when your opinion can help, which is the other archetype of moon. So it's a helper, it's the carer. And when we open up the gate of opinions, we obviously have to care enough in order to open it up, in order to say something. So moon also represents emotions, and emotions just happen to be the main memory bank of the mind. The memory is activated much longer and deeper and higher rates of memory when you have an emotion attached to it. So emotions remind us of these past patterns. Not sharing is not caring. So we need some moon. Now, if we get too much moon, too much extreme moon, this is going to have us caring too much, and the expression goes too far into the emotional piece, and it starts to look like what's over caring. Well, it's control. It starts to control, like guilt tripping, maybe some emotional coercion, etc. It's a real subtle. This way of control invokes an emotion in the other, and normally both parties don't even know this is happening, even the person who's delivering the advice or the opinion. But that's what guilt tripping is, or everyone's favorite word, narcissism, is that they're invoking an emotion in the other, and then that gets them to behave in a certain way. So if we have too much moon, we care too much, we might also be expecting them to believe everything we say, and we don't get that feedback like, oh, thank you. Then this too much moon can be more demanding, or can go the opposite direction where it gets self-sacrificing, and then we do all the work for them instead of just giving the advice. So either one of those is too extreme. Then on the decrement side, we have the same picture as our last reading, which is Jupiter. And Jupiter is obviously the expansive, wise, and very encouraging character. And we need some Jupiter to give sufficient amount of encouragement and wisdom, because Jupiter does, but it also does in a jovial way, uplifting. And it wants to train and coach and encourage. There's a leadership kind of quality to Jupiter. Jupiter helps to levitate the energies, especially if those emotions that we just talked about were grim or like kind of doom. The Jupiter jovialness will maybe levitate it or make it lighter, maybe easier to handle or digest. But if we get too much Jupiter, and we may not be able to meet them where they are. We might be way too elevated, way out there to where it doesn't even make any sense to them, because we're speaking in basically a different language. Too much Jupiter might get somewhat negative, or might accentuate or exaggerate the benefit I'm giving, and so overgives, right? And doesn't read the signs that, okay, your advice is well, placed, but now you're going too far. On the flip side, extreme absence of Jupiter has no aspiration to improve upon. So there's learning is halted, and they indicate that in the line itself. The tendency on the perfected path, that it is a straight line that ends rather than a circle. So we get into too much Jupiter means that we get in too much of this inflated self-view that I'm here to get enlightened and here to achieve an accomplishment or to get praise or something. And it's more, life is more circular. So how do we balance these two out? Well, first we start with listening. Listening opens up the caring. It's active listening, by the way. Active listening, it's not listening while you're thinking about what to say next, or it's not thinking about how to respond. It's really there, not thinking, just taking in, not processing it even. Active listening shows that you've got good eye contact and affirm that you understand along the way. You can give some words like oh wow, or that must suck, or words of validation are also in there. But that's not the validation is not this line. It's just a lead up to the line. You want to listen, actively listen, show that you care, show that you're validating, because if you swoop in too quick and give the advice, now we're sort of putting them on their defensive. They're just like, well, I don't want to be fixed. Nobody wants to be fixed. So always try to validate first before you give the advice. But, and then also make sure the opinion that you're about to give is based on experience, adds value, demonstrates that you care, and is altruistic. It is giving and not expecting any return. The expecting return would be, like praise or adoration or a reward of some kind. Next, ensure your opinion improves the overall situation. This is where we bring in a little bit of Jupiter to provide hope and inspiration, even when things are maybe in despair with the emotions from the moon, as it brings in just whatever's real, the pattern that's being developed. You give advice, might be doom and gloom. And I'm not saying it has to be, but even so, Jupiter tries to levitate it, tries to not pitches fun at it, but provides hope. Hey, I know this is bad. This is really hard to get through, but Jupiter comes in and say, this is the light at the end of the tunnel. This is why we're doing this. It's going to help us. It's going to improve our situation, etc. And then as you're doing this, watch for the extremes. Too much moon means you're expecting your message to be accepted. You're starting to overcare about your message or whatnot. If you go to the other side, too much Jupiter will start to develop the feeling that the recipient isn't really getting what you're saying because we're on two different wavelengths. And maybe we need to listen better back to the moon, the nurturer, where it actively listens. So if you're on the extreme and you're getting facial expressions that say, I don't know what you're talking about, or it just doesn't seem relevant, then consider that you need to go back to the moon and ask more questions, open-ended questions. You clearly didn't get the gist of it yet. You didn't get their experience, their emotions, their orientation, the assumptions might be off. So some keys here are share wisdom selectively, know when guidance serves and when silence teaches, because silence can teach too. Like the moon, the great nurturer can just put maybe a soft touch on the arm that just says, I'm here for you, might be the best communication you have, which is none really at all. Check your motivations, because that will kind of dictate whether or not you get, kind of overcare or not. Make wisdom accessible. Blend Jupiter's vision with Moon's emotional connection. Try to stay receptive. This is a little mix of both. And remain open. Maintain openness to learning even as you teach. So I think that's what naturally Jupiter would do, is remain open and adaptable, but make sure that happens. Don't get so inflated on self that your way or the highway. Respect boundaries, care enough to share, but accept when others' will to listen declines. Prevent self-sacrifice. That's a real common one for some of us. It's easy to just, let's not create a conflict. Let's just do the thing. That's not good, because it's not giving the learning, especially if you're in this line and you're just doing, you're doing it for them, or you're doing the improved behavior. Well, then they don't get to learn. And so the whole point of this line is taking what you've learned over the years and helping others so that they can perform better. So now you become, in essence, the leader in a way. So, all right, this is about it. How do we do today? If you are in for the energy report coming up, report number 445 is coming up in 2 days. Looking forward to presenting that one. We have an eclipse to talk about, everybody. And then also on these readings, we might be coming back to gate 17, line 6. And if we do, we'll just use this video again. I appreciate all of you. Go ahead and subscribe and comment. Thanks. Namaste.